I remember that I was in East Africa learning their history. And the British could not defeat the Nandi. And so what did they do? They invited them for a discussion. It was, please, come with 5 people, unarmed. We also bring in 5 people, unarmed. You know what the British did? They flooded the place with their soldiers. They hid them. The African trusted the British for his word because we are Africans. Your word is your honor.
Because we are Africans, your word is your honor. This chief from Ghana, he was talking about the history of East Africa, how our ancestors used to believe in their word. We used to stand by their words. When they say something, they mean it. And then when the European colonial criminals came around, they didn't understand, or they took advantage of that. So in many cases, when we are when they wage war against us and then we are winning the battle, they will call for a ceasefire. They will say, no, let's calm down, ceasefire, let's sign peace agreement and stuff like that. And in the course of signing the peace agreement, they'll ask you not to arm yourself and stuff like that. And they end up, they end up attacking you because they know your word is your honor. So this chief was talking about that particular history. And what the question we are asking today is, can we really say the same thing about our current African leaders? Can we really say that our current African leaders can stand by their words? Because as we speak today, 48 of our leaders, they are in Korea for Africa-Korea Summit.
It is an undisputed fact that African leaders have repeatedly caused embarrassment for Africa. This is evident once again as 48 African leaders are currently in Korea for the Korea-Africa Summit, despite their prior declaration not to be suborned like children by a certain country's president. Just imagine, leaders of developed nations continue to invite African leaders to their capital cities, offering them small amounts of financial aid or loans in exchange for access to African minerals, resources, and markets.
The other day they were in Italy, Africa-Africa Summit. But the thing that all of us cannot forget or forgive is when President Ruto came out and tell us this.
We have made the decision that it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place and and sometimes we are mistreated.
Yeah.
You know, we are loaded into buses like school kids, you know, and it's not right. If there is going to be a discussion between Africa and any other country, we are going to be represented by the chair, the outgoing chair, the bureau.
Chair of the commission,
and
the chair,
and the chair of the Rex, and we have 5 Rex. That should be sufficient.
Okay.
For a meeting of maybe 6, 7. Yeah. That should be able to represent Africa. And that is the position I am taking as the president of Kenya.
Yes, when President Ruto came out and told us that now they are tired of being disrespected all over the world. They cannot understand why one gentleman will sit somewhere and call all of them, and in many cases they'll put all of them in a bus. It is only African leaders. Why wouldn't they do this to us, President Ruto? If we can say things today and do the opposite tomorrow, why wouldn't they disrespect us? Because when President Ruto came out and talked like this, the whole African continent, the youth, we were so happy because we said, no, this is the man. We've been waiting for this. Because we ourselves cannot understand why all the time when you sit down, you see on TV, it is only our African leaders. You don't see them doing the same thing to the Caribbeans. You don't see Europeans doing the same thing to the Arabs. It is only us. No continent in the world, they are doing this. It is apart from Africa. So when President Ruto came out and spoke like this, we were all happy. But unfortunately, he had to swallow back his words. But the question we ask is, was President Ruto saying this because of the Russia-Africa Summit? Was it an agenda or a propaganda to discourage other African leaders to attend the Africa-Russia summit. Because at the time he was talking like this, at the time he had this interview or this talk, there were a pending Africa-Russia summit. And was it that the Americans were telling him to talk like this so that other African leaders could be discouraged to go to Russia? If not, what has changed? Because immediately the Russia-Africa summit, or any other summit that Africa had with a different country, President Ruto is there. And then you know what? President Ruto also talked about some leaders that he had a conversation with. He said he spoke with President Kagame, he spoke with Prime Minister Abe, and all of them has come to the conclusion that no, they are tired. They cannot continue to be disrespected like this. And then, as I said, we were all happy as Pan-Africans, especially we the Pan-Africans. We were like, no, this is the time that we will gain back our dignity. So what has changed? And you know how much the Koreans are even promising Africa? $10 billion in 6 years. That is the irony. $10 billion in 6 years. The question we ask is, how much are these corporations taking out of Africa in a day? The only thing we can just do is to find out the loopholes and close it. And all the monies that these people are taking out of Africa. The other day when the Senegalese new leaders, young leaders came into office, they realized that companies in French-speaking countries, in Senegal, French companies in Senegal were paying tax to the French government. French companies, can we imagine American companies in Britain paying tax to the not paying tax to the British government, but paying tax to the American government? Or a German company in America doing business but not paying tax to the American government, but paying tax back to the German government. These are the things that we should be discussing. These are the things that we should be coming out to find out what can we do to stop it. Instead of going to Africa-Korea summit, Africa-Afghanistan, I think if even the president of Afghanistan called for a summit with African leaders will still go. Why? Where is our dignity? And then you go there and they will tell you that we're going to give you $10 billion in 10 years, in 6 years. That because they know that money that they're going to give to them, that money we're going to end up buying properties in Europe and in America. And there are some familiar faces. There are some familiar faces. Anytime there is Africa summit, those faces, you will see them. I'm not going to mention their names, but you know them. I don't know whether they don't have job to do in their respective countries. Anytime there is a summit, they never miss any summit. Anytime there is an Africa summit with other countries, those familiar faces, you will always see it. They never miss a summit. I don't know whether they don't have anything to do in their countries, respective countries. African youth, what can we do to bring an end to this disrespect?
We must unite now. We must have one army. We must have one currency. We must have one foreign policy. We must be united.
The only way we can put an end, a stop to this, is by uniting the continent of Africa. I am telling you, the dignity of the African child is not in the hands of our current leaders. No, not all of them. But it is only in the hands of some few that we must learn from. But majority of them who think that the solution to African problems lies on other foreign countries, our dignity is not in their hands. Our future is not in their hands. So if we want a better, dignified Africa, then we must do everything to force these people to buy into the idea of a united Africa. Because most of these leaders, you see them talking Pan-Africanism, but they don't talk about the unity of Africa. I come to realize that most of them, you don't see them. And we must, this generation of Africans, we must make it a point to the extent that any African leader who is not talking about the unity of Africa will become irrelevant. We must make it a point. Because these people, for some reason, colonization has made them so selfish. I said it the other day. The Europeans by nature are greedy people. But we Africans, the Ubuntu spirit that our ancestors used to have, Colonization has taken it away. Today, we don't think of each other's. We don't think of our neighbors. We just think individually. So we become so selfish. Why Africa-Korea Summit, Mr. President Ruto? What has changed? As I asked before, and I'm asking again, were you doing all this propaganda about we are not going to do that again and blah, blah, is not intelligent? Were you saying that purposely because of Russia? Because when you were saying that Africa had a summit with Russia, and then we were talking loud with your voice everywhere, and then we were proud of that. We don't care about Russia or China or whoever. We care about Africa. But the next day, what did we see? You are in Italy. You are in Korea today. Tomorrow you're going to be in Afghanistan, Africa-Afghanistan summit. Where is our dignity? What can we do to gain back our dignity as children of Africa? It's by uniting the continent of Africa. I thank you very much for coming around. Please support our mission, One Africa Mission. We are on a mission until Satan and his African puppets run away out of Africa. Thank you very much. Support our mission by subscribing to our YouTube channel and also our Facebook page, One Africa Mission, our TikTok page, One Africa Mission. We appreciate those of you who have already done that. For those of you who haven't really try and do that for us so that together, me and you can bring back our dignity as children of Africa. Thank you very much.